Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
All right. It is 6:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are helping you make sense of the news of the day. And obviously, the biggest news is that the government has reopened. Good Thursday morning, everybody. This is Patrice Onwuka. I'm here today in for Larry. He is on vacation. Have fun, sir. And I get to be joined by Bethany Mandel, your usual Thursday gal. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. So in that tagline where you said making sense of the news, I thought to myself, well, good luck to Patrice making sense of the next segment, because
I know, right?
I don't know how
you're going
to
help
make
me
sense.
with that today.
I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous. I think this might be above my pay grade. How do you make sense of Jasmine Crockett?
Well, we will figure it out. I kind of have a clue.
Okay.
But, all right, it's 7:05. We've got Mark Morano from Climate Depot. He will help us make sense of this climate hysteria in the climate summit in Brazil. At 7:35, our good friend Steve Moore, economist, he's going to help us make sense of, mortgage proposals and the shutdown coming to an end. And, of course, 8:05, KT McFarland is here every Thursday, and she's going to be talking about Venezuela's ramped up presence in the Caribbean. So, Bethany, you said it right. Okay, how do we make sense of a Democratic representative in Congress, a woman who has been elected to office, who talks like this? Let's play cut 5.
A lot of the MAGA women receive gender-affirming care, such as lip fillers, breast augmentation, etc. Why do you think they are so against gender-affirming care for trans people?
You know you want to say it.
Okay, so I have this thing where, a MAGA woman when you see one.
1,000%.
They all have a look,
big
right?
back,
but they lips be up to anyway. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other issue. But yeah, they don't even know, because when that was brought up on the House floor, because there was a discussion about this on the House floor. They were like, how dare you say we use, and it's like, no, that's exactly what y'all do. Mm-hmm. Y'all just didn't realize that that's what it is. But okay. Yeah.
That is Jasmine Crockett, very well-known Democrat from the state of Texas. She is well-known because of how she presents herself as the new face of the Democratic Party. She is known for launching into neck-whipping, tongue lashings of Republicans during hearings, saying usually incoherent things. And she prides herself on feeling like she speaks for the black folk because she's a black woman. You guys will remember this. Let's play cut 6.
I talk to black folk all the time as somebody that's the child of a preacher. Listen, most black people are not Republicans simply because we just is like, y'all racist. I can't hang out with the KKK in them. That's really what it is. But when we think about who we are as black people and we think about where we come from, most black people have very conservative values, right? But the reality is that, we just can't side with, the neo-Nazis in them. We not dealing with
Let's
y'all
cut
like
it,
that,
Michael.
right?
That's enough of Jasmine Crockett. She has built a brand, Bethany, around being this smarter than thou, holier than thou,
yes.
Get in your face, aggressive woman who wants to take on Republicans. And, her policy positions are very radical. She actually, I don't even think she's authored a piece of legislation that has passed Congress and it helped her constituents in any way. But she waves, she snaps her fingers, she uses y'all and talks like she's coming from the hood rather than from the elite private education that she had for high school. And that's supposed to be the face of the Democratic Party. And she now has the nerve to make fun of MAGA Republican women.
What I was really bothered by in that first clip that we played, the gender affirming care clip, was that I don't need anything to affirm my gender. My biology and my genetics is all the affirmation I need.
Yes.
This is something that really deeply bothers me about the trans movement, that I find to be one of the most offensive things as a woman, because it treats being a woman as cosplay, that you can just put makeup on and put lipstick on and some heels and maybe a bra and stuff it, and that's it. You're a woman. And I have never been a girly girl. This is where you and I differ. I've never, my sister-in-law, one of my favorite stories, my sister-in-law brought nail polish to my wedding because she thought that it wouldn't occur to me to get a manicure. And she was correct. I did not.
Oh my God. Not even a manicure, Bethany?
It didn't even cross my mind. And she knew that about me. And so she brought nail polish. I am still a woman. Even if.
Yes, you are.
Even if I don't like the girly things. Even if I've never been like that. Because you can't argue with science. And for the people who put the literal lawn sign on their front lawn, in this house we believe in science, to completely disaffirm basic biology and genetics is so disingenuous.
This clip is so interesting for many reasons, including what you just laid out, which is her being insulting toward biological women, of whom or of which she is, I would think. And she's standing beside a trans person who is in full, RuPaul gear. This is a man who towers above her, probably over 6 feet, with big hair, pink Texas style hair and makeup and jewelry, fully exaggerating how a woman should be dressed for a formal event. And yet Jasmine Crockett is insulting MAGA women because, quote, they lips be up to, and anyway, she doesn't finish her thought there. Just the ebonics, the broken English that she's using because she wants to sound like among the people. I mean, it's insulting to any woman, frankly, but also insulting to conservative women. All conservative women are not all the same. You and I are both conservative women, and hello, you're white, I'm black. And you like to lean towards the boyish. I'm very much a girly glamour woman. I love lashes. Not the ones she has. She wears, Miss Piggy style lashes. That's not what I go with it. But I like makeup. I like nice fancy shoes but it shouldn't. We shouldn't be boiled down to the way we look and dress, which I used to think was a sexist comment. But she gets away with it because of what you call liberal privilege, which is if you're a liberal woman, you could get away with bashing other women, making fun of other women, and you are celebrated and elevated. But conservative women, we get erased, we get diminished, we get insulted, we get trampled upon as though we're nothing but a piece of furniture in a house, or at best an accessory to our husband on his arm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is really very insulting. And I wonder what, and you alluded to this a moment ago, what the purpose of her is, because she's never done anything. She's never accomplished anything.
Bingo.
In the House for her constituents. To me, that screams someone who could be primaried very easily. I'm not sure what her voters were thinking. But maybe it's time for a change in that Texas district.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of people are probably thinking the same thing, because all she wants to be is not a member of Congress, but a social media influencer. All right, we'll have more on Jasmine Crockett because her legal troubles are heating up. It is 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yeah, change. We need to change the topic on Jasmine Crockett because, and I didn't even mean to rhyme with that one, because she thinks that she's the greater than shoe leather. And frankly, she has people falling for her in agreement with that. Radio host Charlemagne the God, who I don't even know why he calls himself the God, but he seems to think that she's the greatest messenger for Democrats right now. She's phenomenal. And Bethany, listen to Cut 8. This is liberal host Stephanie Miller kissing Jasmine Crockett's feet. Listen to this and I'd love your reaction.
Can you confirm that I just kissed your sneakers? This is true. She's on camera saying she'll do the radio.
I am. We're doing it.
Future senator of the great state of Texas. I'm gonna miss Ted Cruz so much. He's so likable.
Go ahead, Bethany. She's literally a podcaster. A white woman is kissing the feet of Jasmine Crockett.
I have never understood why people hate themselves so much. I am so glad to be conservative for so many reasons, but I think not having to do this prostration exercise is perhaps among my favorite reasons. During COVID, it was I didn't have to wear a mask and I didn't have to get a booster. That was an added benefit of being conservative during the COVID era. But they have viewed this like supplication experience it's part of their religion, and it was made as a joke in that segment, but it's not a joke. This is what they do in order to rid themselves of the guilt that they have.
Yes.
I think it's a sad way to live.
Yeah, it's funny because for years we've heard, white people need to step back and let black women speak, have their time. You have people wearing T-shirts that say, vote like a black woman. It makes no sense to me. Now, speaking of a black woman, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me right now. We've got Michelle Obama. She's up next here, and she's talking about black female beauty and why it's so unique. Let's play cut 9.
And we have to start educating people about all kinds of beauty.
Yes.
And our beauty is so powerful and so unique that it is worthy of the conversation, and it's worthy of demanding the respect that we're owed for who we are and what we offer to the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. No, Bethany Mandel. No, we don't need to bow the knee to black women and say give them a unique respect, other than if they are actually being leaders and providing society with a benefit. You can be beautiful black, yellow, green, purple, and blue. It is not beauty is not a function of your skin color. Yeah. It's both a function of your aesthetics, but also a function of your heart. And I don't know, being entitled and self-centered is not a beautiful thing in my eyes.
No, it's not. I just keep coming back to like, what a way to live. How depressing to only see people for their skin color. I would not want that as a white woman or a black woman or a purple woman. I want to be more than just that. I want people to see me for who I am. And it's a really racist way to see the world, to only see people for their skin color. This is the stuff that made me leave the left, because it really tells on them what they think about people of other races, because they're incapable of taking a holistic view of anyone. All they see is the skin color. And that is, to me, the epitome of racism, to only see someone for that one attribute.
Well, and, it's as though the individual doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's as though it is only the group that you belong to. And so whether it's from a liberal perspective, excusing the poor behaviors of a particular group because, hey, that's what that group does.
Right.
If it's elevating one group above another or diminishing one group below everyone else, that is why you can justify the one person committing murder against another because they are in a so-called victim group, a group of victims, and yet you will mistreat another group. So you will say, you know what, if you're black, hey, it's okay to get D's. We'll just continue to pass you forward and get you into a school that you probably wouldn't have qualified for. But you're Asian. But if you're Asian, oh, no way. You're part of a group that's done too well. And so we're going to take points away from you and take opportunities away from you. And that's where we're at with this. I mean, Michelle Obama is talking about, black female beauty. Hey, I want to appreciate beauty, whether it's Melania Trump. Frankly, I think I prefer Melania Trump's beauty to Michelle Obama's beauty. I'm probably going to get ripped on to shreds stylish on social media. But hey, I would rather spend my day rummaging through Melania Trump's closet than I would Michelle Obama's.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where we kind of see the influence of communism and socialism, because it is that it is that seeing people for the group that they belong to instead of the individual that they are. This is a total extension of that. But it's a very simple way to think and believe and to live, but it is very simplistic. If it is how my 4-year-old thinks the world should operate. You have that, I want it, therefore it's mine. That's how my 4-year-old thinks. And it's why, we see socialism so popular among young people, and keeping kids stupid, if we want to rewind to our previous segments, keeping kids stupid makes them susceptible to this kind of messaging.
Oh, that's a scary thought that this is all just a big setup. We will talk more about this, Bethany, because I think you're right. You're onto something. It's 6:23. All right, coming up, are you bought in on a 50-year mortgage plan? We're going to debate the merits. Stay with us. It's O'Connor & Company at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor & Company.
All right, it is 6:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are here to help you make sense of the news. Good morning. It's Patrice Onwuka, and I'm here with Bethany Mandel. Our good friend Larry is vacationing today, but Bethany, you're here to help me make sense of today's news.
I mean, good luck to you. Perhaps you should have chosen your co-host more wisely.
Well, all right. Well, we've got some help here at 7:05. Mark Morano from Climate Depot. He's going to be with us at 7:35. Our good friend Steve Moore, the economist. We're going to ask him about this next topic. And at 8:05, our usual Thursday friend, KT McFarland, will be here to talk about Venezuela. All right, so one of the big news story items, obviously we know today's biggest news story item is that the federal government is reopened. Hello, all you federal workers who are driving in right now. It's good to see you, virtually. We can't see you physically, but we know you're there and listening. But one of the other news stories was about creating a 50-year mortgage plan. This is really interesting. So President Trump and his administration is potentially proposing creating 50-year mortgages as a means to solve the housing affordability crisis. This idea was floated a few days ago on True Social by the president and confirmed by Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte. And so now it is heating up. There are a lot of people with some really strong opinions on this one because there are pros and cons to it. So let's talk through the pros and cons, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, Bethany. What do you see as the pros here?
So, I mean, I think it helps young people afford a house. I'll be just very honest. We could not have afforded our house were it not for three factors. The fact that interest rates were in the 2% area when we bought our house. Number two, that we received an inheritance after my husband's grandmother died. That was our down payment. And number three, that the previous owner of our house did not understand the value of it because he had a friend who was a real estate agent list it for him, and she didn't put in any effort because it wasn't a listing she was making money on. So she didn't do the homework necessary to understand the comps, nor did she take pictures or write a description or anything. So it looked like, from the listing, it looked like a dump. It was 30-day close as is, no pictures, no information. And so it sounded like it was a teardown job. And we went to see it, and we realized, oh, wow, this house has a lot of potential. And we bought it and made an offer that day. Were it not for those three things, we would still be renting. It is dire out there. And so while I don't think a 50-year mortgage is that sound of a decision from like a Dave Ramsey perspective, we don't all live in a world in which there's 2.75 mortgage rates like Bethany Mandel has, or the circumstances that we had that lucked us into our house. And so I think that we should be doing everything possible to make it an achievable goal for people to own a home. I think that people should be smart and try to figure out how to cut that 50-year mortgage, perhaps by paying extra. But I think the bigger thing that we can be doing to help people afford a mortgage is to lower the interest rates again, get people out of that debt slavery that a mortgage is. And so, I think it's potentially a solution. It will save people a couple $100, but I think the real answer, honestly, is trying to get those interest rates lower.
Well, you've hit on the pros here, which is that, for a younger home buyer who doesn't have, who would struggle to be able to afford a home, stretching out the payments over another 20 years reduces the monthly payments, which, between $200 to maybe even $500 per month. Now, of course, you're locked into a 50-year mortgage, which most people believe, if you're on average, the average age of the first-time home buyer is about 40 years old. Add 50 years to that, and you may be still paying in your grave. Yeah. But that said, I don't think that most people, if they use this tool wisely, would not be paying for 50 years. They would be potentially buying and then paying off aggressively within the first few years, and then maybe refinancing for a lower interest rate or trading up if they are able to secure any equity in the house. That may be difficult, but this could be just a way to, get that first starter home in there. Certainly, there's been this topic has touched off a lot of concern. The Wall Street Journal editorial board a couple of days ago, really panned this idea. They kind of went back to the point, which is why is it so difficult for people to afford to buy a home? And you have, as you referred to, the low interest rates that fell during the pandemic and have skyrocketed, but you also have an increase in home values largely from 2020 forward. And so that made a perfect brew that, is not going to be solved quickly, and it's going to take time to solve. And so a 50-year mortgage is not really going to solve that problem. Yeah. What solves the problem? And we know this as conservatives. It is about boosting supply. This idea of the 50-year mortgage really boosts demand for housing. We have a lot of demand already, but it doesn't boost supply. You've got to cut regulations. You've got to cut permitting processes. You have to change zoning laws that make it difficult for, homeowners to be able to build additional properties on their additional dwellings on their properties, in other ways. And that's not what we're hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there needs to be a lot of sort of creative solutions here.
Yes.
And this is potentially one, and I don't want to begrudge people the option, because the argument is basically like you're going to owe this money into your grave, but
yeah, but that's not
everyone. No, but it doesn't ever most people don't keep their mortgage for the entire length of the mortgage for one reason.
That's true. Yeah. So it's exactly. Most people will at some point either sell their home or something else. So I've seen some different comments online. Well, let's continue to talk about this, because there are pros and cons to this, and I think it's something to consider, as well as some other ideas that are being floated. Right now, it's 6:44.
WMAL, making sense of the border, because laws either matter or they don't. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Now let's go with the average incomes. In 1995, it was $29,000. In 2019, it was $56,000. In 2023, it is still $56,000. So in 1995, 31% of your income could be used for housing. You could get it into a house. In 2019, it was only 21% of your income. In 2023, it is 49% of your income, plus the cost of living, plus the cost of groceries. So the past 4 years is the problem.
Amen, brother. That is a social media influencer explaining why millennials are so frustrated with the inability to afford to purchase a first-time home. And I think this affordability crisis is what Zohran Mamdani tapped into when he was elected in New York City, where so many young people feel left out of the American dream of home ownership because of rising prices and stagnant wages. Bethany, I think he makes a pretty compelling point there.
Yeah, I think so. I think the lack of urgency on the part of a lot of people in power is a virtue of the fact that they come from privilege. And so, for most of them, they had family help. And I say that as someone who grew up poor, and my husband did not, and that's why we had family help. But this Mamdani thing, I think, came out of left field for a lot of people, both on the left and the right, because in order to work in policy and politics and media, you do have to come from privilege or marry into privilege, because you just don't make enough money. You don't make enough money in these industries in the early years to sort of put in your dues in order to stay in this industry. It's very hard. And so I think that Mamdani blindsided a lot of people because he had his finger on the pulse of young people in a way that very few people do, because they came from families who have helped them along the way.
But it's so interesting, though, because there are so many people who are self-made and understand the sacrifices you have to make. The question is whether you can make the same sacrifice as a young person who could make the same sacrifices as a self-made millionaire, for example, has made, and still get there in the same amount of time with the same exact struggles and hurdles. And I think that's a little bit of the challenge that we've got here. I love this Babylon Bee headline here. Dave Ramsey in critical condition after learning of a 50-year mortgage. I think this discussion about a 50-year mortgage, it's not going to be solved. We'll see how the administration moves forward. I think they're also putting forward other ideas around how we can get people, young people in particular, into homes. But I 100% agree with you, Bethany. The interest rates have to come down. That is going to increase the affordability. And we need an economy that is really pushing wages higher. We saw that in the previous Trump administration, where the economy was going gangbusters, and wages, particularly for lower income Americans, were rising. Biden's inflation debacle has left us with inflation eating up all of those accumulated earnings. And so that's what we're fighting. That's what we're up against. And the long-term impact is going to be about really helping the next generation to achieve those milestones. So the story is that's not the end of the story, but we've got to call it the end of our segment here. It's 6:52.